Welcome to a Peak Advisors sponsored webinar. The topic today is payroll broadly, but really what we're going to talk about when we hand it over to our esteemed guest, John Brakey, is transforming the payroll process from payroll to workforce management. And with the changes that Intuit has made in their payroll product the past years, over the past 8 to 10 years, you now have a full-fledged workforce management tool available to you. And what do I mean by that? You can monitor your employees, their location. You can monitor their activities. You can ask them to require them to submit their time, not chasing them down. You can provide a 401k. You can buy your workers' comp insurance through Intuit Payroll, and you then in workers' comp, which I really like, it's actual payroll that's the basis for the premiums. You can health insurance, HR, and I have to say the mineral product that Intuit has brought out, I am a huge fan of it, particularly its ability to keep you straight when you are operating in multiple states. And what Intuit has done is pretty much the same thing that has been going on in the rest of the economy for the last 20 years, which is disintermediation, is they're taking the middleman out. The employee is empowered to manage their deductions, their withholdings, their benefits, without requiring someone in the organization to gather that information and type it in. It really is putting the employee in charge. The company benefits from that in that they're able to reduce their salary expense somewhat, and most importantly, receive, particularly in the HR area and in the workers' comp area, very high quality services without wondering, have you hired the right company or the right person? So this is ongoing. There will be further improvements coming. But before I turn it over to John, I want to say, put your questions in Q&A or chat, and then we'll answer them. And John, Bruce and I have worked with for many years. He is I've got to look down to read it to get it right. He is a senior payroll partner development management. And what that means is we go to him to answer questions or solve problems for your payroll subscriptions, and he helps us sell the product to you and others. So now we're going to turn this over to John. We'll go 30-ish minutes, maybe 10 more. It's up to, I haven't seen John's presentation, but John, you're in charge.
Thank you very much, Michael, and thank you for that additional context around payroll and workforce solutions. I definitely love working with you guys, so thanks for having me on. And let me go ahead and get things started. I'm going to share my screen with you all. And thank you all for being here. I know that we are recording this as well. We'll make sure that we get this out along with the deck to you all. Go ahead and share. I'm going to go ahead and go into my PowerPoint presentation.
This is the view outside John's house.
Yes, yes, lovely view. So today, everybody, so as Michael had mentioned, my name is John Brakey Campos. I work for Intuit. However, I'm partnered up with Peak Advisors as their main payroll contact. As Michael had mentioned, we partner up. Any specific questions come up around payroll or anything else, they normally reach out to myself. Always glad to help, Peak and of course respective clients. My main focus here in the QuickBooks Solution Provider channel is to really work with our managed accounts and basically just educate them, make sure that they're kept top of mind as it relates to payroll. Today's focus is really going to be around how QuickBooks Online Payroll can help small to mid-sized businesses grow with workforce solutions. So it's not really just a paycheck, right? It's beyond payroll as well, as Michael had mentioned, with HR, workers' comp, et cetera. We're going to kind of go over that today. As he had mentioned, you can ask questions through chat. We're also going to have a live Q&A at the very end as well, okay? And Michael, if you want to chime in on anything, definitely go ahead and do so as I'm kind of speaking as well, okay?
Thank you, John.
Of course, but today's agenda is going to be focused solely on QuickBooks Online Payroll Workforce Solutions. What we're going to talk about today are the basics of QuickBooks Online Payroll and a high level of each flavor. How QuickBooks Online Payroll can grow with your business, the areas that QuickBooks Online Payroll can help automate. We're going to discuss time in QuickBooks Online Payroll for any of you that have hourly employees, or if you do job costing, right, and need to keep track of salaried employees' time as well. The power of integration, right, of the entire ecosystem. How QuickBooks Online Payroll helps from a compliance standpoint. The different reports that can be generated for payroll. And we're also going to talk about some free support resources that are available to our QuickBooks Online Payroll customers. So let's start with the basics. QuickBooks Online Payroll at a high level comes in 3 different flavors, right? You've got Core, Premium, and Elite. They're all full service payroll to a certain extent, which basically means we Intuit are going to pay and file your payroll tax liability, right? Starting with Core, it's our entry-level automated payroll. It's a complete self-serve setup and DIY setup. This is normally suitable for more experienced users that know what they're doing, can handle setup on their own. Most clients tend to go with Premium and Elite, but we do have those clients that, hey, I really just have some very basic needs. I've already been doing payroll myself. I completely understand it. I don't need time tracking. I don't need any of the HR to keep me compliant with labor laws and stuff. I just want to go ahead and pay my employees, right? But a lot of clients, for the most part, are either looking at Premium and Elite just because of some of the things that we're going to talk about. Our Premium payroll is our most popular plan. It's that kind of middle SKU, right? It's still a self-serve setup, but it does include an expert review. This is where we're going to validate the work that's been done, right? We're going to dot your I's and cross your T's for accuracy. You also get brought into the HR support. It includes HR support, as Michael had mentioned, through our partner Mineral HR. Think of Premium as more of tools for HR, where you're going to have access to an extensive library full of information. We're going to keep you up to date as it relates to any changes around labor laws, whether it's at the state or federal level, right? We also include a time management solution. So if you do have hourly employees, or maybe you're in construction or in the nonprofit industry, right? In this particular case, you want to be able to keep track of time, potentially jobs, projects, etc. QuickBooks Time is going to enable you to do so. Lastly, we have our Elite Payroll. This is our complete full service payroll solution. This is our only level of payroll that provides one-to-one expert setup and guidance, okay? What this basically means is, for example, let's say that you're currently using a different payroll provider, right? Maybe one of the big at ADPs or Paychecks, and it's still mid-year. You want to make a move now. You're already using QuickBooks Online, but you don't want to take on the responsibility of having to re-enter all of the payroll history year to date, right? That's where we come into play and are able to provide a white glove service. We'll partner you up with an onboarding agent. They're going to basically assist from the start all the way from you running your first payroll to ensure everything gets done accordingly. You also have access to live HR advisors. So where Premium gave you access to tools, forms, templates, and extensive library, Elite is going to take it a step further and not only give you access to that extensive library, but it's also going to go ahead and give you live access to phone and chat support with HR advisors. So let's say, as Michael had mentioned, we're in this hybrid environment, right? You may be in multiple different states. You know your state, right? But then you're in new territory with a new state. There's a lot more complexity involved there. You don't understand the labor laws and stuff. And this is where you potentially reaching out to us so that we can actually help with guidance around that through our partner Mineral HR. And that's the power of such, right? As a growing business, I'm going into different states. I need to actually have that expert assistance available, right? I don't want to have to swift through a library of documents and stuff and forms. I want to actually get straight to an HR advisor that I can speak with and can give me guidance in that regard, okay? In addition, you also have access to QuickBooks Time. The big difference with the time here opposed to on Premium is you're going to have a little bit more functionality, okay? Such as geofencing. So let me go back to that construction client. Let's say you're project-based and you've got a few jobs going on, right? The power of geofencing basically enables you to create boundaries for each of your projects. So let's say that you've got a foreman or you've got your employees, they're about to get to that job site. What geofencing is going to enable you to do is it's going to send a push notification to your employees, whether it's the foreman that's clocking, a crewman that's actually clocking everybody in, or each individual person. As soon as they get in within a certain amount of feet of that boundary, they'll get that push notification, and then basically it's going to remind them to go ahead and clock into the job. Okay. Same thing is going to apply when they're actually leaving the job. It's going to send them a push notification reminding them to clock out of that specific job as well. Okay. Now, the nice thing is that optional add-ons, the beyond payroll, are available on all 3 levels of payroll, which we're going to cover on the next slide. So let's talk about scalability. The nice thing about QuickBooks Online Payroll is that you can actually add these additional add-ons at your own pace, okay? In this day and age, employee benefits, they're crucial to attract and retain top talent and remain competitive in today's environment. That's a given, right? Clients aren't just, or employees aren't just looking for a paycheck. They're actually looking at their total rewards package, right? You can have the peace of mind that you can add benefits at your own pace, right? It doesn't have to be from the get-go, right? You can start with the basics, but as you start growing and evolving and you want to basically incorporate these, you'll actually be able to do so. Anywhere from 401k to medical, vision, and or dental insurance. And we make it really easy to simply get a customized quote or speak to a licensed agent directly. So as you're going through payroll setup, hey, I'm looking at this 401k, or I see health benefits are available. You can actually in product go right through, not even speak with anybody if you don't want to, and go ahead and get an actual quote. Or you have the ability to go ahead and connect with the licensed expert. And that applies again to both 401k, health benefits, even workers' comp, right, that Michael had mentioned earlier, the pay-as-you-go. HR resources to provide guidance around compliance and the ever-changing payroll landscape, whether you're in your own state or you're growing into other states, right? We kind of talked about that. Your time management needs can change, whether you're a growing workforce, you got mobile workers, right? Again, you may need to embrace time tracking at a certain point. The beauty of this is it's just nice to know that you can add these optional add-ons at your own pace, whether it's from the get-go or as you're growing your business. Let's talk automation. So there are a lot of different things that as you actually get set up with QuickBooks Online Payroll, we can really help automate a lot of the tedious payroll tasks, such as timely payroll tax filings and payments, along with the year-end reporting to include W-2s, right? So at the end of the day, what we do is we really help focus on doing the heavy lifting so that you can really focus on your business and what matters most, right? We can also automate the actual process of running payroll for certain employees. So let's say you have salaried employees or maybe employees that work the same hours every week, right? You can set that and forget it. Just put it on autopilot, right? So that every time payroll, if you're running payroll weekly, every other week, etc., you just set it up. We'll remind you prior to payroll being run that it's about to run, right? And that's your cue that money's in the bank. But it's nice to basically know that you're able to automate those aspects of it too. Let's say you're an S corporation, right? Owner officer run. I don't want to have to go in every single week and run my own payroll. Can I just set it up on clockwork and just have it automate? You certainly can, okay? There's new hire reporting. If you're familiar, every state, it's required that when you hire a new employee within about 20 days or so, you have to fill out paperwork with the actual state. All levels of payroll will handle that on your behalf, okay? If you do actually use our partner for both health benefits, which is Allstate, and our workers' comp, which is through Next Insurance, the premiums for such can be automatically paid through payroll when using Intuit partners along with 401k automation through our partner guideline. So just to kind of summarize that part, if you guys are using our partners for health benefits, workers' compensation, and 401k, all of those things can be automatically taken care of, right? Where you don't, all you're doing is running payroll, the deductions are happening for 401k, we're automatically sending the funds over to the 401k provider. If you're using our workers' comp insurance, which is a pay-as-you-go workers' comp, right? A lot easier on cash flow. We're actually calculating the premiums based on actual payroll data, right? Live right there. We're not going to go ahead and at certain amount of time, whether it's 6 months or a year, you're not going to have to true up, right, and actually lay out a couple $1,000s for the true up that had to be done on workers' compensation. So it's nice to know that all of those things can be truly automated to allow you to really focus on the things that matter most, right? So those are really the main things there. We kind of covered everything around automation from that standpoint. Moving on to the next slide, let's talk time tracking. So we actually have a mobile app that employees have access to, okay? Your employees are completely empowered to access their own pay stubs each payday. Long gone are the days where I have to go to an admin, a payroll admin, my payroll admin to ask for a pay stub because I'm doing a refi, right? Your employees, they're empowered to access their own pay stubs. They also can receive their digital copies of their W-2s at year end. And this is really, really big because starting this year, we are actually starting to charge for clients that have paper copies of W-2 sent out for employees. So in this particular case, what you can do is have your employees actually opt into receiving a digital copy of their W-2. It's going to get there faster for them, right? They'll have it as soon as it's available via this workforce portal, okay? Employees can also easily view and request time off through here. So not only through the mobile app am I actually accessing pay stubs and stuff, but if I have time off and whatnot, I have the ability to request that time off through this mobile app, which that request then goes back to my employer, and the admin on that end is either going to approve or deny that request based on availability, right? And of course, through this mobile app, employees can clock in and out to keep track of hourly or billable time, for that matter. Michael, did you want to say something?
No, go ahead.
Okay, got it. So actually moving on to time tracking. Let's talk about time tracking for actual employers. What I just showed you on the mobile app, this was really more from an employee standpoint. Now we're really talking about from an employer standpoint, right? What can you actually do? You can easily manage your team's time inside of QuickBooks Online Payroll, right? I can do job and shift scheduling as well. If I'm new to actual, let's say that my employees' time has been tracked manually in the past, right? And now I'm trying to get accustomed to have my employees start flexing that new muscle and clocking in and clocking out. I can potentially implement job and shift scheduling, right? Where I put a shift or a schedule together, and that'll basically automatically, when that shift is about to start, it can send a push notification to my employee. Hey, Mr. or Mrs. Employee, your shift is about to start. Don't forget to clock in and out, okay? We also have GPS tracking for your mobile workforce, right? Mentioned this earlier in this particular case. Geofencing to create boundaries for your jobs projects so that your employees receive push notifications, right? We talked about that earlier. I also want to throw a few stats out about QuickBooks Online Payroll customers that we actually have surveyed not too long ago that have been using both time and payroll. First, if you're using QuickBooks Time and QuickBooks Payroll, you can run payroll in less than 5 minutes. That's the median time spent by QuickBooks Online Payroll users that are reviewing and approving payroll, okay? You can save 4% off your payroll cost on a yearly basis by leveraging time and payroll together. So let's just say you have a $100,000 payroll a year, right? 4% of that is what, $4,000? That's a pretty significant savings, right? If I'm actually using time and I'm using payroll together. Or nearly a 10% increase in your billable hours, right? So those are basically just a few stats out there that I kind of pulled that we surveyed. These are actual Intuit clients that are using both time and payroll, okay? Pretty significant. So now moving on to employee self-service. Michael mentioned this earlier about empowering employees. This is a great another feature / reason as to how we empower your employees to actually, when you're setting things up, employees have the ability to self-onboard themselves during the actual setup. So let's say I'm just turning on payroll, and now instead of me as the admin having to go in and, oh, I've got 4 or 5 employees, I got to get their W-4s entered and their I-9s and everything else. No longer do I have to do that as the admin. I can easily go in there, turn on payroll, and as long as I have my employee's first name, last name, and email address, I can send them an invitation, which then is going to allow them to go in and enter their own pay preferences, right? Their personal details, their tax info, right? They can even go ahead and get started on their I-9. If they're on premium or elite payroll, they'll be able to get the I-9 done through that process as they're actually self-onboarding, right? And then once they've self-onboarded, what actually ends up happening is we get a digital copy of their W-4 and the I-9, right, as an employer record. And then I, as the employer, have the ability to share that with my employee through that workforce portal, right? That mobile app. They'll have access to those specific records themselves. So if they ever have to, download their W-4 or I-9 for whatever reason, it's going to be there for them. And the nice thing about all this, of course, the value of digital, right? It's all stored in one place electronically at my fingertips, right? So I have the ability, of course, with these specific forms, which are extremely important, right? W-4, I-9, maybe I've got a direct deposit authorization form. I had Intuit through payroll create my employee handbook, and now I've basically had my employee sign and acknowledge it, right? So at that point, I've got all these specific documents, right? I can store them in QuickBooks Online Payroll, specifically under my employees' profiles. So if there's ever an audit or anything, heaven forbid, I have easy access to all of these sensitive documents, right, that are completely encrypted inside of QuickBooks Online Payroll. That's the power of digital, right, and having everything stored electronically in one place. Let's talk integration. So we really talk about QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Online Payroll as kind of an all-in-one solution, right? The beauty, what really separates us from our competitors, be that of ADP, Paychex, Gusto, Square Payroll, amongst others, right, is that we have complete integration between accounting and payroll, right? You have the ability to customize your accounting preference mappings to get more detailed reporting. Let me go back to that example I used earlier. I'm an S corporation, but I also have employees. So I'm an owner officer. I have to be on payroll, right, as a W-2 employee, but I also have 3 or 4 actual employees. I want to be able to separate on my P&L, in essence, where like the mappings around expense and my wage expense accounts, right? I want my officer owner salaries to go in, expense to go into one category, but then I want my employees to go in another, and I want that reflected on the P&L. I can do that with QuickBooks Online Payroll because I have everything integrated, right? I can really get down and customize that to my preferences, the way I want to see things, right? Or the way Peak, Michael, and Bruce want to actually see from a reporting standpoint, okay? There's no need to offset payroll with a journal entry since it's all in one place. For any of you folks that potentially are using QuickBooks Online but are using a different payroll provider, you have to get that information into your accounting software somehow, right? It's either a journal entry, or there may be some sort of a synchronization, right? But how much information are you really getting in, right? So as a result, having everything in one place, it's one source of truth, right? I have access to my time tracking, my accounting, and my payroll all in one place, centralized. So let's talk compliance. Compliance, pretty straightforward. As a small to mid-sized business, compliance is extremely important to me, right? What are some of the things that we help with, QuickBooks Online Payroll helps with from a compliance standpoint? Well, for starters, we're going to go ahead and automatic payroll tax payments and filings included with year-end reporting, right? So all your filings, we're going to make sure that you're completely compliant. As long as you're running your payroll in a timely manner, we're going to file and pay your payroll taxes in a timely manner as well. And we'll take care of your year-end reporting, right? With all the compliance that goes with that. At year-end, you also have to report to the IRS, the Social Security Administration. We handle all of that, okay? We also can provide guidance on setting up employee handbooks, right? Listing policies and procedures, setting the tone of your company culture. We'll help with that. Extremely important, compliance, right? We'll also provide proactive alerts of labor law changes. We talked about this. But in this particular case, we know where your employees live and work out of because we have their profiles in payroll, right? So what we're going to do is if you are in that kind of hybrid environment where, hey, I'm in a couple different states, we're going to make sure that if anything changes as it relates to federal, state, or even a local basis, we're going to notify you. We're going to give you guidance on kind of what happened, what changed, so that you can pivot and remain compliant, okay? We already talked about this, but we digitize and store all employee paperwork within QuickBooks Online Payroll, right? Keep you as compliant as possible. Audit happens, you know where your stuff is, right? And it's all encrypted. And then, of course, if you're using and embracing our QuickBooks Time, we maintain accurate time records, right? You get audited by the Department of Labor. Hey, I've got my employees' clock ins and clock outs and everything, right? I can provide you with all that information. So that's kind of where we really shine from a compliance standpoint. And then going into reporting, so at a very basic level, you can customize, run, print, and export a payroll report and share valuable insights with your trusted advisors, such as Peak Advisors, right? Here are just a few examples of the types of reports you can generate around payroll, just to name a few, right? These are kind of the most common, right? But obviously there are more. You've got your payroll deductions and contributions report, right? Your payroll tax liability, your tax and wage summary, time activities, your vacation and sick leave, and your workers' comp, right? So these are just, to name a few, some of the reports that can actually be generated for payroll specifically. Okay. And then lastly, just wanted to include some support resources so that you guys all know what to expect around payroll and workforce solutions, obviously including HR. First, how you can contact our support agents, right? We do have either chat or phone support, okay? Now, with premium payroll, what I want to go over too here is the support resources around kind of what you get with premium and elite, right? So premium payroll, as a reminder, you're still setting things up yourself, but we will do an expert review at the very end to actually dot your I's and cross your T's for accuracy, right? You also, with premium, have access to that HR support center, okay? Where, hey, I need to set up an employee handbook to list out policies and procedures. I can do that through that HR support center built into premium, right? Elite payroll, as a reminder, you're going to get expert setup. We're going to walk you through the entire setup to make sure it's done correctly, and then we'll actually help you run your first payroll as well. Reminder, with Elite, you also have access to HR advisors, right? Not only is it just a support center, but I can actually pick up that phone, speak to an individual that's an HR advisor, and discuss whatever complexity I have going on in my business, right? And then lastly, we've also built a centralized knowledge base resource site with Intuit help articles around payroll, time, how to set up videos. I'll include that as well in this when I send the deck out to Michael and team, and they'll go ahead and share it out as well. But you guys are welcome to go ahead and bookmark it and stuff. Has a ton of resources, again, around payroll and time and whatnot there. But with that being said, Michael, are there any questions in the Q&A?
Well, here's one. If an employee requests PTO via Workforce and the request is approved, will the employee scheduling be updated in time?
You bet.
It will.
Once that's made, it will.
Wow. That is so powerful.
Yep. Yep.
Oh. Anything else folks want to ask? Oh, come on.
Don't be shy.
Okay. Well,
anything that you'd like to add on your end, Michael, based on kind of the things that we went over and stuff?
I'd like to add something because I've received this comment from various clients in the past. And so when we talk about enabling, empowering the employee, someone has said to me, well, you're just pushing all this work off to the employee. And my response is the employee had to complete a W-4 form, and give it to someone. The employee had to complete the I-9 and give it to someone. The employee had to complete the health benefit sign up. Nothing has changed about that except the environment in which it's happening. From the employee perspective, they're doing it from their phone. From the employer perspective, all the benefits that John mentioned of digitization, not trying to track, and meaning you don't have to track down a piece of paper when you need it, not having to then subsequently process that piece of paper. That's the benefits that the employer receives. And again, the employee is not disadvantaged by this change in workflow.
Yeah, and you know what, Michael, that's a great call out. One other thing I would add to that, and I've seen this happen a lot of times, when you're actually, let's say you've got an admin that's entering all that information, right? Oh, and I want to get paid via direct deposit. I'm going to handwrite my account and my routing number, and I'm going to hand it to that actual admin, right? And guess what? I may have made a mistake at that point. And then I handed it to the admin, they go in and they actually start getting everything set up, and then at payday comes and Mr. or Mrs. Employee didn't get paid. What happened? Well, basically, they either hand wrote, right? So instead of, in essence, having the employee right then and there, hey, let me go into my mobile app and let me take a look at what my account and routing number is and get that done, right? Copy and paste and do it myself, right? Instead of writing it down, I have to hand it to somebody else that then inputs it, right? And they could maybe even make a mistake on that end. So, and I've had that happen before, right? So, good call out on that end, Michael.
Okay, if you have a question, raise your hand.
Yeah, Bruce, I see you over there.
Yeah. Hi, gang.
Hey, Bruce.
So glad you could all join us and appreciate it, John. You're always doing a great job.
Thank you, sir.
What I'd like to
I'd love to
add,
see where you're at, Bruce.
yeah, what I'd like to add is for those of you that are doing projects, and certainly in the construction industry, the QBT is immensely powerful because it's going to assist in doing job costing. The only way you can do job costing in QuickBooks is through payroll. You can have a third-party payroll service and they will pay wages, but they're not going to assign those costs per job like QuickBooks does using QBT.
Correct. Good call out there, Bruce.
Oh, Susanna's typing a question.
Right.
And I'll just add, when Bruce made that point about QuickBooks, he was referencing QBO in that context.
Yep. QuickBooks
Susanna's question is, can the kiosk and app be used at the same time, or is it one or the other? And I'll just answer that. And the answer is, you can use them at the same time.
Yep.
Different employees, different pathways.
That's right. I can basically have let's say for my admin staff, my office staff, right? I may have an iPad mounted on the wall. It can be in kiosk mode where those employees pass by, right? And then I can go ahead and just have them enter their PIN number. iPad can take a picture to avoid buddy punching, right? But then I also have mobile workers out in the field, right? And they're on their phones, so they're basically clocking in and clocking out that way. We can certainly do that, right? No problems whatsoever. It's just a matter of how you want specific employees to actually clock in and out. What's easier for you and what's easier for them, of course. Right? Good question, Susanna.
Oh, one more is coming in. Yeah, we're going to stop here in a few minutes, unless there are more questions. If you have more questions, please go ahead and put them in.
I think I saw something about was it auto stop or something?
Yeah. Whoa.
Oh, you guys got that?
I might have misunderstood Susanna's comment.
Yeah, Suzanne, if you could clarify a little bit more what you're thinking is auto stop.
I think the answer to her, let's let her clarify, but I think the answer to her question is yes, because the employee can get a notice that their shift is ending.
They can get the notice, but it won't do it for them.
That's correct.
So it's not going to take them out of time because their shift has ended at 5 o'clock, because the software doesn't know, well, the work required them to stay on for another hour, half hour, 3 hours. So it's not going to automatically punch you out.
Unless you leave the work site.
You'll get a notice again.
That's right. You're going to get a notice that you're gone. So
you'll get a notice.
Correct.
And you will know that as the employer. Susanna, just David, take her off of mute if you can.
I believe she should just be able to unmute.
There she is.
Hi. Great presentation.
What was that, Susanna?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So Bruce and I will be working together later on in some of my configurations. So I've been playing around with a lot of the settings. So how does this, if you can't automatically stop the time, the system is gonna know that you left? Is that the geofencing or is that through GPS location?
Great question, Susana. That would be the GPS tracking, right? Because obviously the geofencing is going to send the employee a push notification that, hey, it looks like you're away from the project or whatnot, right? If they've left. But then to your point, I think the GPS tracking is going to show the breadcrumb trail, because if that person has not clocked out, Big Brother's still looking right on the mobile phone as it relates to the breadcrumbs for the GPS tracking. So that would be your cue of knowing, hey, at this time, you left the actual project, right? So you'll know at that time. You'll know exactly what that looks like, and then you can make any adjustments. Keep in mind, go ahead, Michael, go ahead.
Well, there's another feature, and I'm going to defer to Bruce on the flexibility of it. But if an employee stays logged in more than X hours, management will get a notice.
That is
And
correct.
And I think, correct me, Bruce, I think that is, you can change the number of hours.
You can. Typically, it is at 10 hours.
That's right.
But you can change it to be longer. So if someone's punched in more than 10 hours, it's going to punch them out unless they override it. But that wouldn't be something you want to put in there if you are looking at a normal shift, an 8-hour day. You wouldn't want to use that because it is more global.
And guys
So
do
it's
work
not
overtime and
That's
all
right.
of that. But there will be a notice that goes out,
Definitely.
or you will get a notice, Susanna.
There's a lot of different settings,
Yeah.
settings, Susana. So anything else that you definitely need in that regard, definitely connect back with Michael and Bruce, and they can also bring me in if needed, and happy to have a further discussion around that, your concerns or anything else, Susana.
Perfect. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for your questions. Was there anything else, guys?
Anything else, everyone? If not, I want to thank you for attending. This is going to be the lead in the November newsletter. We are going to chop this up by slide, the video up by slide. We'll post it on YouTube under the headings that John used. And we will also post various things in other social media. So thank you for your time. Let's everyone give John a round of applause. I forget how to do that on this. But anyway, thank you, John.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having me, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.